is Laura Lovett, and I am a psychologist and a writer of psychological thrillers. And my first book was Losing Cadence, about an abduction, and it is a page turner. And the sequel to Losing Cadence just came out in about, well, 3 weeks ago now, and it's called Finding Sophie. And you can find both of my books at www.authorlauralovett.com.
If you had to use one line you have written to describe the artist you started out as, what would that line be?
I'm a creative spirit and visionary who was nervous to put myself out there. And I would say I am definitely a creative spirit, and I have a vision, just like my protagonist in my novel, Cadence, who was nervous to put herself out there. So I'm the same as that. It's nerve-wracking when you put your creation out there, whether it's writing or music. In her case, it was music. Whatever art form you create, it's the fear of rejection that comes to play, and it's the fear of other people not liking your work. And it's easy to be influenced by the naysayers in society. So the people that say it's impossible to publish a book. It's very tough to get a book published out there, and it's very difficult to have a book that's a bestseller. You're not going to be able to do that. Hardly anyone can do it. It's those sort of naysayers that are definitely a challenge, and you need to keep persevering regardless of those.
Near the end of a project, what is the emotion you find yourself more often feeling, and how long does it typically last?
This is good because it's fresh on my mind, because Finding Sophie just finished a couple of months ago, where I was quite nervous about whether people would like it as much as they liked my first book, Losing Cadence. So I started to think, what if it's not as good? What if the ending, isn't the right ending for people and they don't feel good about that? So I started to have experiences of self-doubt. But then what I did was talk to my editor, my beta readers, people that would say, oh no, right, your book's going to be awesome, and I think it's even better than your first book. And you need people around you that can help build up your spirits at times like these.
Fear of the sophomore jinx, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Dealing with critics, you've always found it better to what?
So if you get a review and it's not very good, or a rating that's poor, and you're a sensitive person like I am, and I think a lot of artistic types tend to be more sensitive beings, I think it's important to go back to the overall picture. Well, what have your overall reviews and ratings been? How many reviews have been strong? Because you certainly can't please everyone. And I think it's important, though, to feel the emotion, feel the pain, and then I always like to say, lick your wounds, stand up, and move forward, right? But it's okay to feel the pain, and it's okay to have a cry or to vent and, swear about the situation. But then you have to move on.
You were a mad scientist and could actually bring one of your characters to life. Who would that be, and why?
I found this question the most difficult question, because they're all fictional characters, and I really wouldn't want to bring them to life because they weren't meant to be real people. And in the psychological thriller, it's like, well, if you're writing nonfiction or whatever, it's different. But in a thriller, they're pure imagination. So to bring them to life, I don't know why you'd want to, but I think it would be interesting to meet Cadence and see what my protagonist is like and have a conversation with her. I think it would be interesting to meet my antagonist, Richard, as well, because I think he's a very intriguing, multi-dimensional character. And I mean, a lot of people hate him, but I think it would be just neat to be able to see how he comes across in real life.
Being the playing field where you never had to be concerned about money, time, resources. Give us one way in which you would be the same artist you are right now, and one way in which you would be vastly different.
Well, I think, Joe, I would still be creative, and I'd still be wanting to inspire and help others. I get a lot of joy from inspiring others to follow their passions, and I get joy from helping others. I mean, that's why I chose a career in psychology. And I'd still be genuine because I'm a pretty open, genuine person, and I wouldn't want that to change, nor do I think it would. I would be able to publish books more regularly. If I had unlimited time and resources, I could write lots of books because I have ideas. The ideas come no problem. It's time to execute that I don't have. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would be producing a lot more than I'm able to in my present life.
Would you accept the fate of being a full-time author if it was presented to you, or would you still want to do what you're doing now?
I'm not ready to give up what I'm doing now 100%. And I feel like being a full-time author might be a little bit isolating for an extrovert like me. So I would do maybe half-half. How does half-half sound?
Yeah, there you go. That'll work.
Good.
I think you would be brilliant half-half.
Thank you. Finding Sophie is my latest psychological thriller. It's a sequel to Losing Cadence, which came out a year and a half ago. And Losing Cadence must and should be read prior to Finding Sophie. Finding Sophie is not a standalone. There's a lot of information and experiences and history and background and all that in my first page turner that without that, I don't think it wouldn't be as clear. Although, I mean, some people have read it as a standalone. I don't recommend that. Finding Sophie takes place 12 years later. It's about an abduction. It is about having to be resilient. It's about understanding the antagonist's backstory. It is full of twists and turns, and there's one twist in particular that nobody expects. So when they finish the book, they always say, "I didn't see that twist, Laura." So that's good. That means I've done my job there. And they also say, "Laura, I was up until 2 reading it," or "I was up half the night." And again, I think that's the job of a true page turner, is they're eager to go to the end and it's moving quickly for them. So that's a bit about what Finding Sophie is like.
Nice.
And
Is there one word you can think of that a lot of people use to describe it?
Powerful, maybe?
Nice.
Or, edge of your seat. But that's not one word.
I should have said one word or phrase.
Okay.
Edge of your seat's good. That's really good. I like it. Well, thank you, Laura, for joining me, and I appreciate it. That was it.
No problem. Happy to do this.
Have you experienced a bad review already?
Yeah, I submitted to a contest, and it was offered through Reader's Digest, and it was a contest for an independently published book. And I got a review, and it was when I was in Stockholm, Sweden for work. It was a year ago, and the review came through email, and it really wasn't very good, but it also showed that the person hadn't read the book properly, or they hadn't understood the book, right? They really hadn't, or they wouldn't have said some of the comments they did. But I was still pretty shaken up by the nature of that review, and it was far off from some of the other things I had been hearing about my book, and it was hard. But I had to just talk to my editor again, feel down in the dumps. I don't have a lot of time to wallow because I'm just so busy with so many balls in the air that I tend to just move on and get distracted away from those feelings.
That could be a good thing, though.
Yeah, time. I think having too much time is actually a challenge for some people, because the brain can just circle around negative thoughts over and over and over again, and that's what contributes to anxiety, and it can contribute to depression and things like that. So I think too much time is a challenge. I did a little bit of retail therapy in Stockholm at a Christmas market, and then I was okay.